Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the God the Artist podcast. I'm your host, Morgan McCarver, and today we have our special guest, Dave Letterfly. Hi, Dave. How are you doing?
Hey, hello, Morgan.
Hey, where are you recording out of, Dave?
I'm sitting in my home in Florida, right near Tampa, Florida.
Florida.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. So that's a lot warmer than us up here in North Carolina, then.
yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, you're getting your share of ice, aren't you?
We are, yes. Well, first, I want to start off asking you, who are you and how do you like to be creative?
Well, my name is Dave Letterfly, and I was born creative, I'm pretty sure. I was always driven as a child to make things and create things and I became at the very beginning was musically, I guess I got that honestly from my
Mm,
mother. She was an opera singer. So as a
wow.
child we had to take piano lessons and stuff. And then by high school I became a drummer. And then I got the brilliant idea that I should be playing the drums in a circus band. And so
Wow.
at 16 years old, I hit the road and played the drums in the circus band, spent the summer on the circus, and had the time of my life.
Oh my goodness. So did the circus find you or did you find the circus?
Oh, I found the circus. Yeah, I was ready to go. But what's interesting is before I ever played the drums for the first time, I actually painted something for the circus, some
No
artwork.
way.
So it sort of
Wow.
gave me a hint in regards to where my career was going to go.
Right. It sounds like you are creative in many different aspects of your life then.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think creative people are creative in all areas because, in addition to music and painting, and I became fascinated with horsemanship, and now I have this
Mm.
piece of property. I guess I've become a xeriscape landscape artist type thing, and my vehicles are all custom and different things. I'm creative in all areas except, I would say, cooking.
Cooking. I feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be dangerous or it's dangerous when you try to get
Be
creative in the
creative
kitchen.
in the kitchen, yeah, because yeah. So other than that, I'm creative in pretty much all areas. Yeah.
And it looks like you wrote some books too. Tell me more about that.
Well, my writing started as the result of recovery, recovery from alcoholism. Part of that process is you'd start by writing a moral inventory. And what
Hmm.
it evolved into once the inventory was done, I guess I found another place to be creative. And next thing you know, I'm writing these inspiring essays. And then the next thing you know, I've got enough material for a book. And then I got enough material for another book. And I'm just
Wow.
on fire today writing.
Yeah, that's
I've got
awesome.
5 books that are published, 3 more are in the works,
Oh.
and I'm already having that great idea for the next one.
Oh, can you tell us a little bit more about what's coming up?
The one that is been through 2 developmental edits so far, and there's actually a publishing company that wanted to read the first 3 chapters. It's about a relationship I had with a horse, so it's kind of a
Mm,
love story that starts with me being a sign painter in the town where I lived up in Michigan, and I was gifted a horse, a young horse, and I take this horse into its first stall. He's scared to death. He'd been separated from his mother, and then I walk the reader through the entire process of training the horse and
wow.
training him into a circus performing horse. And then I take you with me to the different chaotic venues that we had to uh, go to in order to demonstrate the training that we had accomplished, and then we take you all the way through our lives together. Parallel with my painting career was taking off at the same time, and then I would perform when I had opportunities. all across both North America and parts of Canada. And we had a career that lasted a couple of decades. And then he eventually became a lawn ornament and became my hobby. And then I take the reader all the way through to where he developed a condition in his feet, and I eventually had to put
Mm.
him down, and then from there we so yeah, it's a love story. It takes you
Wow.
uh, the entire lifespan of my relationship with that horse, the bonding that occurred, and the special
Right.
connection, and the segue to the spirit part of the spiritual uh, uh, what do you call it? Awareness,
Hmm.
relationship that I have today, a practical relationship that I have today with God that occurred as the result of the horse teaching
Yeah.
me. Yeah, it was like the horse was teaching me the whole time. So yeah.
Wow. That's amazing to spend, yeah, to spend your whole career and that horse is with you the entire time. And then how that segues into your relationship with God. Talk about that a
Mhm.
little bit. How did the horse show you that spirituality side that you were mentioning?
Well, it starts before the horse because see, my daddy was a minister. So I grew up as
Mm,
a preacher's kid. And as a preacher's kid going to church, I did not find a practical relationship with God at the church.
mm,
It took Alcoholics Anonymous to introduce me to a practical way to enter into a relationship with God. And what coincided with that was this relationship that I had with this horse. And what what I found is that there's an immediacy, there's a dedication, there's a focus that's required in order to form a connection with, I guess, all living things, but that's what I
mm,
found with my horse. See, I took that horse away from everything he was familiar with and took him into strange territory, take him over to halfway across Canada to a hockey rink and then say, okay, we're going in there. And, over the years, the horse began to trust me, and I was the only thing that remained constant in his life. And so it's sort of like the same thing that I've ended up experiencing as my hunger for a practical relationship with God occurred. I ended up going, wow, I've got all this chaos going on at all the times, but there is this steadfast energy that is ongoing, that's always here. Whenever I put my focus, whenever I take my focus off of the distractions and keep it on and that's exactly what the horse taught me, because
mm.
that's what succeeded in my relationship with that wonderful horse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I relate to that in the pottery world, how it talks about God is the potter, we are the clay. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
like you experienced that um, in that same way where we really are the horse, and God's the trainer.
Yeah.
And
Huh?
so how do we, yeah, put those blinders on and focus? Because horses are pretty skittish, right? Or is that a myth?
Well, they're naturally, uh, it- that's the way that they're made. They're
Mm,
made to want to run away from danger. So yeah, so skittish is a survival mechanism,
right.
because if they hear a twig snap, they don't know if that's a predator or what. And so they hear a twig snap, they're out of here. And so
Yeah.
it's actually unnatural for you to take a horse and have it become confident in uh, unfamiliar territory, because
Mm.
its natural inclination is to be reluctant and cautious. It's just wanting to preserve itself.
Right. Yeah, that sounds a lot like us humans, or at least me anyway. You
Definitely.
know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then remembering the horse had to remember that you were its safety. You knew what was safe
Yeah.
for the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
amazing. I bet you had to get creative training a horse to be in the circus. What did that look like?
Definitely. It starts with kindness and consistency because it takes repetition to teach a horse. So that means that we have to become consistent in order for the horse to begin to trust us. And then when we
Mm.
want to expose the horse to the chaos, my very first act was I had 6 ponies that did a Liberty Act. And when we were practicing in the barn, in the quiet of the barn, we finally got the ponies to do the act. And then Bob was training me to take over and work the act. And then he would step outside. And one day he comes to the barn and he's got trash can lids and sticks and stuff like that.
Oh
And
no.
he's having me work the pony act and he's outside. He's right next to the ring banging a stick on the trash can lid just to
Oh my
create some
goodness.
chaos because we had to get him used to it.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's yeah, that would that would be alarming to go from silence to banging on
Yeah.
a trash can lid.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's part of the process. It's called in show business that's called crowd breaking them. You're getting
Oh,
them used to the calamity that comes with a crowd of people because people are always going to be talking and then when they all start to applaud at the same time, that's terrifying. And then on
right.
top of that, the band is playing and the drummer's up there, rap tap tap, and he hits the cymbal. And then there's all the other distractions. The guy with the big pole full of fluffy cotton candy that walks by the whole crowd. That's a
Yep.
terrifying sight for a
Mm-hmm.
horse. So yeah, and we got to get him used to all of those things. And with time, with trust, whenever I remain the calm, confident partner that he needs going through that danger, then the horse learns, oh, wait a minute, I can be calm now because I'm tuned into Dave and he's staying calm. So there's no
Mm.
reason to be alarmed. I'm just going to go ahead and trust him and do that and go forward. Oh, you want me to go in there? Okay, let's go. So yeah,
Wow.
it just takes time, but it's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing because there's no connection between two living things that's better than
Hmm. That's
than
amazing.
take your
Yeah,
horse. Yeah.
that's a great analogy and great symbolism. So kind of jumping into that more deeply, how has God's creativity affected your life?
God has been choreographing. It's really interesting. He has been choreographing an interesting life for me to live. And even though there are times when when I flip out and I get skittish like the scared horse, and I get what do you call it, anxiety and fear and those kinds of things, they occur at times, or I get frustrated or things, that calming presence is still available. It's
Mm.
still present at the time. And as I mature and and I grow into my relationship with God and keep that relationship foremost, I find that it's easier and easier to remain calm, the same kind of calm that horse demonstrated to me as the result of
Mm.
my remaining steadfast. So I think that I found a, a firsthand truth, a firsthand proof,
Mm.
a firsthand experience that demonstrates God's power and His grace working in my life. and it makes it easier when these things occur for me to remain calm and confident and especially grateful, because
Mm.
just like that calamity I took the horse into, that calamity made him a better horse. So who am
Mm.
I to say that the calamity that I'm going through today is not going to make me a better person?
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool to think about. Yeah, if you had just left the horse in the quiet barn,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, he
that's
couldn't
what
be a performer, I guess, right?
that's what they say. Anybody can get the horse to do it in the quiet of the barn,
Mm.
but to get it to get him to do it in the ring in front of a big crowd of people with the spotlights on you and the band playing and all that other hoo-ha going on, that's what takes a showman, a good horse trainer, to get him
Hmm.
to do it. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Uh,
that's what keeps influencing these books that I write.
oh, that's awesome.
It really does. And because, see, what I'm starting to recognize is that God has choreographed this incredibly interesting life for me to live for a purpose. And
Mm.
today I can write these stories of these experiences that I've gone through and put them in the form of a book and include like a theme and some underlying lessons and some examples of how grace transformed me from, self-centered and fearful and all of those kinds of things, and transformed me into somebody with useful purpose. And
Mm.
uh, I've been transformed from reclusive into a people person, genuinely interested in finding ways to be a
Wow.
blessing to other people. So it's like there's a miracle that has occurred in my life, and today I'm on fire writing about it.
That's amazing. I can tell in your voice and in your face that is such a passion for you. Can you talk a little bit? It sounds like your testimonies in your books. Can you talk a
Oh yeah,
little bit about that?
I'd be happy to. And plus, I've got a opportunity for all the listeners to get one of my books absolutely free. I have a website that they can go to and get a manuscript download on their
Oh, that's
computer
great.
and get the book for free. This book was
Awesome.
inspired by one of my customers. My customer said, Dave, you are living the dream. You're traveling all over the country, doing what you love, making people happy with what you do. You should write a book on how to do it. And
Hmm.
so I ended up realizing, wow, there are people out there that probably don't know how to get up off the couch and go take a step forward into unfamiliar territory and start living a life of adventure like I've been doing my whole life. And so I wrote a book. It's called Hit the Road and Thrive:
Hmm.
7 Secrets for Living the Dream. And it's available on my website, which is real easy to remember, daveletterfly.com.
Perfect. I'll put that in our show notes too, so all of the
Okay.
listeners can find it.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. So tell me some of these 7 secrets. You don't have to spill them all, but could you give us like one or two maybe?
Of course. Yeah. One of them has to do with visibility
Mm.
because, and there's a mental attitude that accompanies the concept of visibility. And because a lot of people who live, see, as children, we are all artists.
Mm.
But then as we begin to mature, we are influenced to select something practical. And then the next thing you know, we slide into this practical lifestyle that's predictable and it's manageable, and we end up uh, going into a routine. And the problem with the landing in a routine is after a while we start to get dull
Yeah.
because it's the same all the time. So, and that affects our uh, not only our perception, but our attitude. And so part of what one of the chapters in the book has to do uh, with what I call visibility
Mm.
and stepping into unfamiliar territory. What we want to do, instead of relying on all of those things that we accumulated as we were growing up, do something practical, and play it safe and all this, that, and the other thing.
Yep.
And I want to introduce you to what we had as children. And even Jesus mentioned that in order to enter into the kingdom, you must have the attitude of a child. Well, that's pretty much being playful and curious. So
Hmm.
one of the seven secrets has to do with that mindset, because when we discard all of the things that we've been taught to value, and we return to that sense of playfulness and curiosity, all of a sudden our focus is no longer on that stuff that's going on in our head. Our focus is going on outside of us, and we're wondering. We're looking around us and wondering. We're curious, and we're like detectives. We're looking for clues. And that just opens up a whole completely new mindset for going through our day. And even if you don't get out of that practical routine that you adopted as you were growing up, you can still benefit from adopting more of this mindset while you stay in that in your lifestyle.
Mm.
So
That's, yeah.
it's designed to benefit everybody.
Hmm. That
Whether
sounds like perfect advice. Yeah, to go back to our roots as children. I completely relate. I mentioned some of that in God the Artist that I had written a couple of years ago,
uh-huh.
that we're taught all of this creativity in kindergarten, and then it's taken away before you even graduate high school, that, art's just a extracurricular activity, and
Uh-huh.
it's not important anymore. It's sad. So I'm glad you're able to encourage people to get back into being creative.
Well, and plus, I've been an example of that my entire career. I was just talking to the guy that I decorated a top fuel dragster over the weekend, and I was
Oh.
explaining to him that I had to evolve about every 10 years because of technology.
Mm.
I was a sign painter up until the middle 80s. Technology invented the computer that started making vinyl letters that would stick on
Wow.
everything. And so the era of the sign painter became over with. So I had to evolve. I found a perfect place to land, and that was an emerging phenomenon. The RV industry had just matured to making 40-foot luxury RVs that
Whoa.
middle class people could afford. So it made a
Yeah.
huge market that just exploded in the middle 80s. At the exact same time the other thing was going away. Now,
Hmm.
was that God choreographing the next opportunity for me? It wasn't like I came up with the idea and uh, the world, fell into place. I
Hmm.
was just in the right place at the right time, and discovered this market. And that was my main gig for 20 years, putting airbrushed murals on the exteriors of motorhomes. And that was great until technology came up with they came up with a device for taking the labor out of full body paint jobs and then printed digital wraps. And so
Oh, yeah.
that made the era of the airbrush artist go away. And so I had to evolve again. And I evolved
Mm.
into a motorcycle decorator, pinstriper decorator. I use all of the skills that I've accumulated my whole career, and I can do virtually anything on a motorcycle today. And then the
Mm.
other thing that occurred during the last 30 years was my abilities, my skills, my understanding as a writer, an author, have have been developing, and right now they're just coming to a place where I'm putting together some pretty incredible books. Yeah, I'm
Oh, I
getting
love
some
that.
really good reviews on this one
Oh,
that's
that's
called
great.
it's called Tinker, and it's about a 10-year period of my life when I was performing with the circus, and it's
Hmm.
getting good reviews on Amazon.
That's
So
awesome to hear that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think everyone is so fascinated by the circus, but I kind of want to hear more about this muralist motor coach situation. What kinds of murals were you doing?
virtually everything that you can think of.
Oh,
Certainly eagles and wolves in the snow and desert sunsets and those kinds of things. But also there were people that wanted a classic automobile on the back of their motorhome, whether it
hmm.
was a Packard or or any number of things, Corvette or anything, and certainly horses. Horses are
Hmm.
my absolute favorite thing of all to paint. So when they wanted a stampede of horses going across the back of their motorhome, I'm the guy.
Oh my goodness. And you didn't use any kind of like stencil or you just did it all
No,
freehand?
yeah, it's all
Wow.
freehand, and I would tackle the jobs that no that where they couldn't find anybody to do. I had this one guy come. He said, "Dave, I want Saint Francis of Assisi preaching to the birds."
Oh my goodness.
I said, okay, we can do that. So I had to do some research, and there
Sure.
was actually a tree where this legendary event took place, and we got a picture of the tree, and so that's in the painting. And then we had, we can find images of monks with the hole in the middle of their haircut for to
Hmm.
do a nice Saint Francis of Assisi, and then put a bunch of birds. He's preaching to all the birds that were flying in to hear more, and we put that on the back of his motorhome. So I tackled all
Wow.
kinds of different, a couple thousand murals, you figure, in a 20-year period.
That's so impressive. Have you kept up with any, like, did you ever see them on the road, pass them on the interstate or something?
Oh, it back in the it was fun back during the era of all of these motorhomes traveling all over the country. I would get a phone call from one of my friends who'd be like going across Colorado or something, and he'd go, "Hey, I saw 3 of your murals today."
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What a great legacy. That's pretty cool. Um, so that kind of leads me into my next question. Um, what is your legacy, or what do you want your legacy to be out of all of these different kinds of careers you've done?
I think that the purpose of my life, what it's starting to be revealed to me now, is to be a benefit to other people.
Mm,
And there are a whole bunch of just uncanny lessons that I've learned because my life has been so turbulent and interesting and demanding and certainly chaotic that there are valuable lessons that I've acquired. And to me, it's like, a lot of people are like amazed. And to me, it's just like, well, why wouldn't you, live your life this way? Because
sure. Yeah.
it's become normal to me. But what I'm discovering now is that uh, a lot of the lessons, even when I look at them through these fresh eyes, as I continue to strengthen my connection with God and begin to recognize, wow, I went through that event for a purpose, and that
Mm,
purpose uh, is to have a lesson, to have a benefit for whoever reads this, and
hmm.
it continues to fire me up to get up early in the morning and do some more writing.
Wow.
Typically get up at 5 in the morning and I'll write for 2 hours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah,
to have the mindset just right when you wake up to start
I'm
writing.
excited. Yeah, I go,
Yeah.
oh, good, I get to wake up.
Does it make it easier to go through the hard things knowing that you'll be able to share that lesson with somebody else?
I think, as I get better, not always, it's still, it's still, there's a still self, the skittish part of me
Mm,
that wants to avoid that. But then as I get better and better at keeping the focus of my attention on the relationship that I have with God, it gets easier and easier to continue to walk toward the pain instead of trying to avoid it.
mm,
And like you said, because going through the experience is where the lesson is. We're not going to learn anything if we run away from it. It's
mhm.
just, we're just going to have that illusion that, oh, good, the tiger didn't jump on me today.
Yeah, I guess that's a real fear at the circus, you know? A lot of people aren't
Yeah.
afraid of that. Um, yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great lesson. But what would you say has been the hardest part of being an artist, no matter which creative outlet you're looking at? What's the hardest part for you?
Well, I've actually written a keynote speech, and in the speech, I end up emphasizing the fact that the hardest part of being an author, as I apply myself to my next big idea, the big next concept for the book, the hardest part is simply writing one thing.
Mm.
Because there's such an abundance of stuff that wants to come out. And I can't do them all at once. I end up having to just select one thing and then write that really well. And
Hmm.
then before going on to the next thing. And as I get better and better at staying connected, I'm finding that inspiration uh, comes. I'm being blessed by being placed in a flow of inspiration and guidance and clarity and all of these kinds of things. So I get better and better at staying at peace, staying serene, staying grateful. uh, the creativity comes. It's a gift. And as I end up realizing more and more that this creativity has been coming from God the provider,
Mm.
it just makes it even more paramount for that relationship with God to uh, be uh, more important than anything else. And there's like a confidence that replaces that tendency for fear, and then I can stay with God and remain grateful, and then the words flow right out.
Wow, that confidence and from the Holy Spirit. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's great. You've never felt burnt out at all
I
as an
have not.
artist?
No,
Wow.
I go through periods of I think like grief.
Mm, sure.
I finish a manuscript. I'm excited. I go through and go through the manuscript a couple of times, and I get it all the way to the end, and I'm going, yes. And then I go through a like that,
Yeah,
and then I got to go just do one thing, and then I'll do another thing, and then another thing, and then I'm back on it.
then you're back.
So
Yeah.
there's but that's like a probably a normal part of the productive cycle. Like the beginning is the beginning of a painting was always boring, and at the end of the painting, it was exciting because you were putting the finishing touches on it, and people were
Mm.
looking at it because it's almost done, and they're looking at it. They're going, "Wow, that looks really great." So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just like the stock market. It goes up and it goes down and it goes up and down.
Yeah, well, you give so much of yourself to your books and your paint, I'm sure to everything you've done. I imagine you'd be exhausted by the end of one of your projects.
Yeah, put everything into it. Yeah.
Do you have any art project? You've mentioned your books, but do you have any painting or anything that you haven't done yet that you want to do?
Yes. I
Ooh.
have the guy that works on my Volkswagen. I have a couple of Volkswagen buses. The guy that works on them said, "Dave, do you want this piece of glass?" And it was like a tabletop. It's an oval shaped piece of glass. It's about 5 feet wide, maybe 32 inches wide. And it's like an oval and it's an inch thick.
Wow.
And I went, he said, "You want that?" And I said, "Yes." So I haven't brought it home yet. It's a big, heavy thing, but I'm already dreaming about what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to, put some monument paper on it, and I'm going to cut it out in scrolls and put a cool name on it, and then peel out certain areas of it and sandblast it and glue chip it so it gets those fern shapes in the glass, and then put some gold, do some of that, gold on glass, and
Mm.
a bunch of stuff, and back it up with mirror stuff, and just make a beautiful thing out of it.
Oh, cool. That
Um,
sounds awesome. Yeah, you're going to like cut into the glass, like literally?
well, you use yeah you sandblast into the glass, and that removes
Mm.
material, and then you put what they call rabbit hide glue. It's a hot glue you mix and you put it on, and then as it dries, the glue starts to shrink. And
Hmm.
when it shrinks, it takes out chunks of glass, like slivers of glass, and it puts that nice, kind of like a Jack Frost effect
Oh
on the
yeah.
glass.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like an ancient technique that they used, back in the 1800s to make ornate glass signs, and it's just something that it popped into my mind when the guy said, "Hey, you want this piece of glass?" And I went, "Yes."
So that goes back to your sign painting days, I guess.
Definitely. And I've
Yeah.
got another project that I started when I got home. And this is there was a saddlebred horse that performed with the circus back in the 1920s. And
Hmm.
this horse would do what they called a pick out routine. You'd ask him a question, how much is 2 plus 3? And the horse would pick out the answer, which would be
Hmm.
5. Or
Wow.
what's the flag of Great Britain? And the horse would go over and pick out the right flag. Or what
Hmm.
can you show us what the color blue is? And it would go and pick out the panel that was painted blue. And it's a pick out. It's what they called a pick out horse. And I had the brilliant idea that I should make an old time looking canvas banner like they used to hang in front of the sideshow 100 years ago with this uh, the depiction that would have been on a circus banner if there had been one for this horse.
Hmm.
And for two reasons. One, to pay homage to where my career started and create something that's certainly uh, apropos for a person who began painting for the circus. And then the other part would be to use this finished product as some kind of a, like for the sake of publicity. Like if I wanted to like give it to Kentucky Horse Park, if they would be interested in having it in their museum as the only example of that kind of that art. And then the other thing to do, it would promote where that particular horse appears in one of my books.
Oh wow. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah, I'm sure that museum would love to have that. I'm sure probably several museums would fight over that.
I
I want to
love.
see it for sure.
I love putting stuff in museums.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are coming to the end. Is there any last little tidbit you want to share with the listeners today?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, what I would like to do for all of the listeners, I would like to encourage you to uh, find find a way to put your phone down and be quiet and enter into uh, what I call an entry level meditative state. And that's really it's like in the present moment. And that's really where our relationship with God takes place. It's just in this moment that we're in. And as we get better and better at demonstrating to God that we are interested in entering into a relationship with Him, He will do He's already doing His job, which is to be present ongoingly. And so as we get better and better at uh, I guess showing God that we are interested in a relationship with Him, then He gets to wrap His arms around us and give us that, you know, and maybe we begin to notice that the love has been with us the whole time. So yeah,
Hmm,
definitely.
that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm honored that you would come on this podcast and talk to us
Uh-huh.
about your art.
I love having fun.
Yes, this was awesome. And one more time for the listeners, your website, I'll put it in the comments as well. But the website where we can get your book.
Yeah, get the free book, Hit the Road and Thrive, 7 Secrets for Living the Dream. Dave Letterfly, that's Letterfly, DaveLetterfly.com. Get your free
Thanks so much.
download today.
Yes, will do. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Morgan. That was fun.